Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-ba-bum-bum. Hi, everyone. This is Rabbi Kenneth Hahn for Ask the Rabbi Thursdays for UJTV. And today I'm talking about relationships. Why? Because it's wedding season, and I've actually been officiating at quite a few weddings of late. And I see these amazing, beautiful, excited young couples, and I think about the marriage, and I just felt moved to talk about relationships. So here we go. I actually want to start with a couple of jokes, not because I just want to make you laugh, but because I actually think they're somewhat instructive. The first one goes like this. Actually, it's a young couple that is going to be married soon, and they go to their rabbi, who's a much older man, and they say, "Rabbi, you've been married a very, very long time, like 50 years or something. We're really curious to know, as we enter into marriage, what's the secret to a good long marriage?" And he says, "Oh, I'm so glad you asked this question, because in my household, the man is the head of the household. And the woman, my wife, is the neck. She makes the head turn this way, and she makes the head turn that way." And the other joke, maybe you like this one a little bit more. This is actually a true story. I actually was just with someone last night who is a man in his mid-90s, and he was talking about when he first knew his then girlfriend, long before they got married, and they were married for over 60 years. He received some advice from the older generation, and they said, when you get married, you two should go out for dinner at least twice a week. And he said, for the next 64 years, we went out for dinner twice a week. I went out on Tuesdays, she went out on Thursdays. Ha ha. So I find these jokes instructive in the sense that I do not think the secret to a good relationship is either subjugating your own needs on the one hand, or taking so much distance that you're basically not in relationship. And I don't mean to suggest that was the case in the instance of that second story, but those are not viable solutions to a long, happy, healthy relationship. Now, when we look to the Torah, we see what I kind of think of as a bit of a trash heap of dysfunctional relationships. The stories in Genesis are, in that respect, quite problematic. What do we have? We have, going back to Adam and Eve, I guess you could say we have some deception. In the story of Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar, we have a love triangle that does not go very well. And we have Jacob stealing the birthright from his brother Esau. I'm skipping over a father, Isaac, or Abraham rather, putting his son on the altar to sacrifice him. That's not exactly the building blocks for a great father-son relationship. We see Jacob conniving, stealing a birthright. We see him playing favorites at various points, and actually denying the birthright later on to Joseph's two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, where he actually gives the birthright to the younger of the two, Ephraim, instead of Manasseh. So it's just one troubling relationship after another, and there are many examples of professional jealousy. So in a real sense, we could say this story, these stories are very reflective of real life, where relationships are not always perfect, far from it, and they're not always easy, far from it. So if subjugating your needs and or taking great distance are not the answer, what is the answer? And I think, for me, the answer is really finding a good way to communicate. It's the basis for all good relationships, and certainly I've seen a lot of that lately when I talk with couples who are approaching marriage, and they're communicating really well, and it's very heartening for me to see young people really practicing good communication, which involves, in my view, um, being aware enough and self-aware enough to really have a decent understanding of what is moving in you and not living it, but rather observing it and understanding that at times I am my emotions, but at other times I can observe myself experiencing emotions, and in that sense, I know I am not my emotions. So developing a good observer, and then once I have some insight, having the courage to communicate what really is moving in me, and then doing it in a way that is compassionate, honors myself, and honors the other. And if one can do it sounds easy, it's the furthest thing from easy, but if you can tap into what you really want and communicate it, not necessarily with the expectation you're going to get it, but with the hope that you will, and allowing for disappointment if you don't, a very mature emotion, and honoring yourself and honoring the other, including the other as well, in your scheme, or your schema, then there's a really good possibility for 60 or more years of growthful and happy interaction. So with that, I will say, I hope your relationships are profound and productive and joyful most of the time. And tune in next Monday for Music Mondays. Have a great weekend, and Lehitra Oats. See you soon.